Hello, this is Mark Krofchick. You're watching a video with an example of A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, directed by myself at the Walnut Hills School for the Arts in Natick, Massachusetts. Now, rather than simply offer you clips from this production as you're seeing right now, I also wanted to briefly show you a clip from a rehearsal with these students from day one of the rehearsal process. Now, the rehearsal process at Walnut Hills School for the Arts Summer Arts program is an interesting one. We only have 2.5 weeks to take the production from the first day of rehearsal to tech and performance. Working in such a time frame with inexperienced students, some of whom have never read Shakespeare, let alone performed in it, is quite a challenge. So what I wanted to do was to both historically contextualize the performance by using a historical performance practice, in this case being the dumb show, which started every Shakespearean production, and also to contextualize the entire plot for these young students and have them all as an ensemble, as one unit, understand the entire plot of the play from the very beginning. I simply gave these students a full synopsis of the play, and then ask them within 20 minutes and without my direct direction to stage the play as an ensemble. I thought this was a quick way for them to get to know each other and also have the accountability, but also the autonomy to tell the entire story of the play without me putting my vision on it first. And so that is what you are about to see right now, the development of a Shakespearean dumb show. Again, this was day one, and the first 20 minutes of day one on June 23rd, 2016. Now, why this was a particularly beneficial exercise for this cast was that not only did it put them all on the same page, but it was also an opportunity for the students for whom English was not their first language to learn the plot of the play as well. One of the great joys of working at Walnut Hills School for the Arts was working with multinational students that came from Japan, China, Russia, Ireland, and other countries. As you can see, they worked very diligently from day one. And they worked just as diligently with me in editing this down to what you are about to see. Enjoy. Now we move on to something a little different. What you're about to watch is called Development of an Etude. Etudes are sequences or compositions of precise muscular movements intended to evoke particular emotions in a performer and audience through the relationship of the choreography to a compositional whole and its elements. This process attempts to systematize the kinesthetic relationship between outer movement and inner feeling to enable actors to truly experience this relationship and to train them to control it. The following work was conducted from February to May 2017 by students in the Contemporary Theater program at Boston Conservatory at Berkeley. Much of the training used in this process emerged from my studies into the living cultural theater training at the Center for Theater Practices Gardzienice in Gardzienice, Poland, as well as with Double Edge Theater in Ashfield, Massachusetts. The devising and rehearsal process focused on giving Sam Shephard's and Joseph Chaikin's plays Tongues and Savage Love specific, layered, textured, and nuanced context through the use of this compositional and experiential acting training. In a process like this, my role as director is quite different than it would be in a play like A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's much less concerned with finding out what are the given circumstances of the playwright's imaginary world, and much more about trying to find the actor's reaction to the text and their interpretation of it poetically, visually, and to bring that to life. And that's generally what I wanted to illustrate by showing you these clips. The initial experiments and research began on February 3rd, 2017. It began with the students' impressions from initial playwright research and moved on to trainings called Encounters from my experience with Gardzienice. And the students were taking a class called Design and Critical Thinking. Something they wanted to work with from the beginning was the use of practical handheld lights and other non-traditional luminaries for the theater. Day one was also a process of gathering all of our documentation, and in a process like this, documentation is paramount. And all of that leads into their first physical and vocal explorations with their ideas of how to stage the text. And that's what you're about to see.
When we're tangled up in love, is it me you're whispering to, or some other? When we're tangled up in sleep, is it me you feel your leg against, or is it Paul Newman's leg? When I flutter my eyes like this, is it causing you to think of Marlon Brando? When I move with my body in one direction and my head facing the other, does it cause you to think of Mick Jagger? If you could only give me some clue of what you want, I could invent who you'd have me be.
A little rough around the edges. It has some physical shape to it and some choices, but they're not fully formed. Here the ensemble decided to make the stationary choreography a part of the piece rather than moving. They added these face masks to it, believe it or not, before the COVID era, because they saw as love as a virus, which came out of the text at times. And this idea of encountering the self came from this actor named Luis Mendoza, who really wanted to use the piece to confront himself through the work. And here you are going to see the end result of their months of preparation.
When we're tangled up in love, is it me you're whispering to? Or some other? When we're tangled up in sleep, is it my leg you feel your leg wrapped around? Or is it Paul Newman's leg? When I flutter my eyes like this, does it cause you to think of Marlon Brando? When we're tangled up in meeting other people, is it me you're introducing, or is it Warren Beatty? When I stand with my body facing in one direction and my head in the other, do you think of Mick Jagger? If you could just give me some clues, I'd invent the one you'd have me be.
And now for something very different from that indeed. The following are 3 clips from Fiddler on the Roof, a production I directed at Girls Preparatory School in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 2019. I wanted to show you 3 different scenes that showed 3 completely different ways of using a set to either create a place, an atmosphere, feeling, or an otherworldly feel. I will largely leave this to the clips to explain themselves, but I will jump in when I feel when necessary.
You're the oldest. They have to make a match for you before they can make one for me.
And after her, one for me.
So if Yenta brings...
Oh, Yenta.
Well, somebody has to arrange the matches. Young people can't decide these things for themselves.
She might bring someone wonderful.
Someone interesting.
And well off.
And important. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Matchmaker, matchmaker, look through your book and make me a perfect match.
Matchmaker, matchmaker, I'll bring the veil. You bring the groom, slender and pale. Bring me a ring, for I'm longing to be the envy of all I see.
For Papa, make him a scholar.
For Mama, make him rich as a king.
For me, well, I wouldn't holler if he were as handsome as anything. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Night after night in the dark I'm alone, so find me a match of my own.
Little bird, little Javila, you were always such a pretty little thing, everybody's favorite child. Gentle and kind and affectionate, what a sweet little bird you were, Javila, Javila.
In this previous clip, we used this projection of literal birds flying to work with the song of Little Bird, Little Javila, to illustrate the love that is fluttering inside this young woman and the tumult and the struggle she's having inside of her. Whereas here, with the finale of the show, I wanted to use the projection to reach out directly and literally to this world which had vanished. We did this production only several months after the attacks at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh. It was a moving experience for all of the actors to be able to take part in this, and once we began playing this video at the end during tech, it really added not only another layer visually to the production, but it added another layer emotionally to all of these young actors. And suddenly they really began to check in on another level with this work. And it also evokes what I like to work with in my acting, directing, devising, and theater history work. And that is to reach out to these vanished kingdoms that still have echoes in our world today, in the case of this production, we were honoring the echoes of people who were a part of our daily world and tragically and suddenly taken away from us. And here we were offering a bit of this sad, lost world that once was happy and full of emotion and life. I will leave my commentary there, but I will say thank you for watching, and I will leave you to watch the final moments of this production. Thank you.